Alrighty, and welcome back. Well, actually not welcome back. Welcome to the inaugural first episode of something I'm going to like to call Fudgey Talks, which is basically me just going over fucked up stories that I've done to people over the years, such as like pranking them, dosing them, sending people to their houses, everything along those lines. Mainly I'm going to focus on this first one to see how it goes, because it might be my first and last. Some old friends of mine, Custy, Mr. Mike Cuthbert, if you've never heard of him, I've recently done a podcast with him. And, yeah, he's something else. And then I'm going to touch on a couple I did with Brian. Brian's a little bit more sensitive. He doesn't want to hear this stuff out too much. He won't be tagged in it. So if you guys don't hear this, fuck you. It's your own problem, Custy. So, let's start off with one of my earliest ones I ever did to Custy. So Custy was seeing this girl. And she was a dear friend of mine as well. You know exactly who I'm talking about if you're familiar with my friend group whatsoever. So we all used to hang out, and then they kind of broke up. He was like madly in love with her, like obsessive and all this weird shit. And he used to fucking cry when she was over all the time, like, why the fuck is she here, blah, blah, blah. So the one time we're living at my mom's apartment on Geneva Street. It must be like 2004, 2005 maybe. And I decided to make dinner for my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, Custy, and this girl. And Custy's being a complete cunt to her, right? Complete cunt. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck him. I'm gonna fuck with him tonight. So I end up making duck. And he's like, oh, I've never had duck before. So he's sitting in my bedroom. I had a giant bedroom with the washerman and everything I shared with my brother, because we're still teenagers at this point. That was the party room. Everyone remembers that room. It was a fucking party room. We did a lot of fucked up shit in that room. And, so as I'm making the duck, it's done, I'm cutting it up, and I'm like, looking at my dog, he's sitting there looking at me, my little Jackie. So I actually feed the duck to the dog, and I pull it out of his mouth as he's eating it, so it's all chewed up. I chop it up so it looks all cool, put a little sauce on it, fucking actually I took a picture of the dog chewing it, and then I actually fed it to Custy, watched him eat the entire fucking thing, and I told him, and he wasn't too happy about that, to say the least. But you know what? It was one of the funniest things I think I've ever done to that poor fucking kid. He's like, "This is so fucking good." Oh my god, poor fucking kid. And then right around probably like a year or so later, my buddy JD's parents were gone for a weekend, and we decided to go over to his parents' place. Obviously, his parents are gone. Let's go fucking party. And then a couple girls came over, and my buddy Brian ended up sleeping with this one girl, and she actually shit the bed. And we never stopped harassing him for it, but he told us he didn't use a condom. So I let this sit on my mind for like 6 weeks. And it was Father's Day, like 2007 maybe. And I'm like, okay, I gotta fuck with Brian. I'm at work, and it comes to a brilliant idea. I should try to convince him this girl's pregnant. And I can't think of a way to actually fully tell him, like, if it came from me, he knew it would be a lie. So I'm like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get someone from work to call him. So Brian is not the smartest person at this time, new with a cell phone and everything like that. So I had this girl, Rita. Oh, dear old Rita. She was always out for a good fucking around with someone. So I got her to call. She was very professional. Like, hi, my name's Rita. I'm calling from Niagara Health Unit. A young girl came here by the name of blank blank, and she said the last person she had any sexual intercourse with in the past 3 months is you. So congratulations. Your new baby's gonna be expected in a few months. So she actually called and fucking said this to him. So on Father's Day, he was eating dinner with his parents, and he sat outside on the deck, smoking into his backyard, crying, saying, I guess it's his life, and then went and told his father he was gonna be a grandfather while he was 17 years old. I let that go for a little bit, and didn't feel bad about it whatsoever. Eventually told him he was pissed. I don't think he ever really got over that from me. What was another one I did to fucking Brian? So I was in Guelph, and I was scoring Viagra. I ended up crushing it and throwing it in Brian's drink. That was a good one. I hit him with a bunch of, what did I hit him with one time? No, the Viagra. Then he got me back with X-Lax. That wasn't good. I shit everywhere for like a couple days. It was fucking terrible. Like, it was coming. I was bleeding. One time we watched Wedding Crashers. We tried poisoning Custy with Visine, which completely backfired. But let's go back to another Custy one. Let's see here. Jesus, there's a lot. I wrote down a couple. So when we were kids, if we couldn't get cigarettes, we had to bum cigarettes off one another or whatever. So I worked at the Angel in Niagara Lake, and across the street, our buddies Dan and Custy worked there. So me and Brian were at the Angel, Dan and Custy were over there, and So Custy was sitting there before he had to start work because Brian would drive us in, and Mike couldn't get cigarettes because he wasn't broke. He wasn't broke. Actually, he probably was broke. He took a lot of his money to party with for a long time. But we were sitting there in the wine bar before we would start, or I was getting off, or whatever. And like our bosses, the guys who owned the Angel also owned the bistro at this time before they got divorced. Shit, long weird story. So we're sitting there, and I'm telling Custy, I'm like, oh yeah, I just got off work, blah, blah. He's like, hey man, if you're leaving, can I get a few cigarettes off you? There's like 15 of us sitting in there. So I started taking cigarettes and throwing them all over the fucking room and watched him go pick them up one by one in front of his bosses as he's cussing me out. That was probably one of the worst things I did, because it's just so demeaning. It's pretty bad to be like, hey man, can I steal a couple smokes off you? You're supposed to be like my best friend, but you know, why not? You gotta fuck with him once in a while. Always keeps him on his toes. Then he decided to move out to Edmonton, and I'm like, you know, it hurt me. I'm like, oh, best friend's leaving, whatever. So I ended up living in a basement apartment, and me and my buddy Binky used to sit there for hours, bored, watch TV, whatever, go to work, come back, whatever it was. So we started getting the fucking brilliant idea of finding out where he lived, so we could like send dirty mags there or whatever else. And he got the brilliant idea, let's send a hooker to the house. And at this point, Custy's living in my buddy's parents' place out in Edmonton. He's been out there 2 weeks. He barely knew these people. So we we call up from an Edmonton number, because you used to be able to do this on Google, like call from a different area code. So we call from a different area code to a hooker out there, Sunshine or something like that. And he actually sent her there like, hey, my name's Custy, I'm just new to this city. He lived it was in Sherwood Park, Alberta. So we're like, hey, can you get on by at 7 o'clock? So he got off work at 6, and it took about an hour to get home from work. So he's sitting there laying in bed and knock on the door. And he doesn't think anything of it. He's downstairs in the room, and it's, what was her name? Shelly or something like that. Comes down like, hey Mike, there's a girl for you. Just so happens like a couple weeks before that, I was telling Custy I was going to send a hooker to his house. He said he turned over and just thought, are you fucking kidding me? Walks up and boom, there she is. A fucking hooker sitting there. And he's shaking. How nervous he is? Because he thinks he's about to get thrown out of this fucking house. His whole life's going down the drain. He moved across country to save his life. No, to change his life. Not save it, but to change it. And yeah, that happened. And he was like, no, I don't know who you are. Retrospectively now, looking back on it, like that could have turned out real bad, knowing a little bit more after working at a strip club, something like that. If a girl gets sent to a place and there's no money to be collected, I'm surprised that guy didn't come back and kick the fucking door in. That could have turned bad real fast. But we thankfully didn't, and they ended up confronting him about it, and he's like, just so fucking with me. Can you imagine, you don't even know these people? Like, why is there a hooker? Clearly she looked like a hooker, showing up at the door and asking for you. And hey, lo and behold, there she was. What was another time when we found out? So he moved out of that house about a year and a half later. He moved into like a complex type house with some friends of his, like our buddy Nigel and my cousin Tyler, actually. So through my cousin Tyler, I found out what the address was on the house. So me and Binky, once again, we got bored, so we're like, oh my god, we can order stuff online to his fucking house. And the pizza place out there is Pizza 73. So we went out there and we ordered such specific fucking things. Like things you can't resell. Like only one kind of person would like this. Put like Alfredo sauce with like fucking anchovies on top of it. It was like completely fucked up. It was like a $400 order. So we gave him Custy's number. He's out somewhere. He's like, what are you talking about? And the person's like, no, I gave him my number, sorry. He gave a number, and I'm like, hi, sorry, I'm just in the wash, will be down in a minute. The person texts me, he's like, hey, I can see you inside, come to the door. I'm fucking waiting here at the pizza, blah, blah, blah. Nothing, so they take it back. He fucking loses it, starts crying. What the fuck? Why would you ever do that to my fucking house? Don't do it again. So clearly, the next week, we did it again. I hit almost every last fucking fast food restaurant in his fucking area and sent it to his house with his name. At one point, we found out he posted a picture of his boxing club, so we sent 2 extra large pizzas to his boxing club while he was trying to lose weight, which is classic. And funnier enough, like he couldn't order, he was blacklisted. His number was blacklisted from Pizza 73 in the area. So like the one night he was hungover at our buddy's place and he's trying to call Pizza 73 for some wings. He's hungover, you know, when you're hungover, you really crave something. That's what he wanted. So he called, they're like, oh, you're fucking blacklisted, blah, blah, blah. Funny enough, he starts dating his fiance now, the lovely Andrea. So they're at his complex hanging out, right? And she's like, hey, let's order some pizza and have a movie night. He's like, okay, order it, I'll go pick it up. She's like, why don't we just call delivery? And we're already like rested. He's like, Well, and he had actually explained to a girl he's just been seeing for a couple weeks about how his asshole friend from Ontario kept ordering pizzas to his fucking house, which was probably one of the funniest things I ever did to him. I remember one time in high school, they took his shoes and pissed at him and let him put it back on, that poor fuck. Oh, Jesus Christ, the things we did to that poor boy. But anyways, let's see how this one goes off. This is the first episode of Fudgey Talks with me, Mikey Big Fudge.